Fortnite just completely changed competitive. Next season, we are going to have no FNCS, no solo cash cup, and these entirely new divisional tournaments, which have a lot of people incredibly confused. So I'm going to explain everything you need to know and cover all the big points, because some people are really upset, but there are some really good changes. We have no arena preseason, and we have tournaments starting in less than a week into the new season. There's lots to talk about. Let's jump into it. All right, let's break down this blog post from top to bottom because there's a lot and a lot of you guys are incredibly confused. Before I get into talking about why there's no FNCS, why there's no solo cash cups, and what's going on with console, I need to talk about the Divisional Cups because this is pretty much what Fortnite competitive is now going forward. This is replacing FNCS and cash cups. It's going to kick off on September 24th. We have the new season starting on the 18th. That's only 6 days away. So we have a very, very quick start to competitive. And of course, with that, that means we have no preseason. And you guys know I absolutely hate preseason. I'm incredibly happy to see this change. You guys are going to have 6 days to go from 0 hype points to 2,000 to get Contender League to be able to play in the Placement Cup. If you don't get it straight away, that's okay. You can play the future competitive weeks even if you miss the Placement Cup, but the Placement Cup is incredibly important. The top 200 duos are going to go straight to the top for the Elite Cups. The top 1,000 duos, or 201st to then 1,000, are going to play in the Challenger Cups. Everyone else is going to play in the Contender Cup. The whole point of this is it's like a tiered system. If you start at Contender, you're going to have to work your way into Challenger, then work your way into Elite, because Elite Cups is where the prize money is. Every Wednesday and Friday, there are going to be duo cups for each of these different divisions. For the Elite Cup, the top 50 duos, whoever has the top 50 most points across the two tournaments combined, are going to play in the Elite Cup weekly final. This is the only tournament per week with prize money right now. If you're in the Challenger Cup or if you're in the Contender Cup, you are not playing for money. You are playing to place high enough to jump up into the Elite Cup to then hopefully earn money. So as you can see, that first Challenger Cup tournament on Wednesday, the top teams from that are going to go up into the Elite Cup on Friday. And then the top players from the Challenger Cup on Friday are then going to go into the Elite Cup for the following week. The same goes for the Contender Cup. So without making it too confusing, all you have to think of is this is what a rank system looks like. If you're at the bottom, you then have to place well enough to go up a level. Once you get into that division, you can't drop down. So if you go from Contender Cup to then the Challenger Cup, you are not going to be able to drop back down to the Contender Cup. So it's going to be very important to place well in that Placement Cup and then have a good starting week to ramp you up into the future. This does have a lot of people upset because the only prize money is on the Elite Cup, but it is top 40 on all of the regions outside of the major ones. So even on the smaller regions like OCE and Middle East, top 40 teams are going to walk away with money. That's all but 10 teams in the cup finals. So we don't have the exact specifics of what the prize pool looks like, but it's sounding like a pretty solid bump up. A lot of people are thinking the FNCS prize pool that we're not getting next season is going to be redistributed into these weekly tournaments. It is a very big change for competitive, and I can see why people are upset, but this is what a proper ranked mode would look like in competitive. I believe Fortnite has given up on having a proper ranked mode with Arena. They just don't think Arena is ever going to be competitive. They've tried and it's failed. They're going to leave Arena as just a way to play games, get quick queues, and just W key your way through it. But if you want to try to improve as a player, you want to try and earn money, you play in the Divisional Cups and you try to get better week by week. This does have a lot of people upset. It is a big change, and I want to hear your guys' opinions. Are you happy with this, or do you want it to stay the way it used to with Cash Cups and FNCS? Now, there are a few points I glanced over here. I'm not going to go through the exact amounts of who is going to advance through. If you guys want to read that, the blog post in the link in the description down below, you can go through and check out how many for each division, but I'm just going to bore you. But a few things I wanted to talk about. Is it region locked? This is a bit of a question mark one. It's a bit confusing. So the original Placement Cup is region locked. You can only play the initial cup on one region. So do not play the OCE Asia or Middle East Cup unless you are from that region. But the future tournaments are not region locked. So what that means is once you've played the Placement Cup, and let's say you got top 1,000 on your region EU, you're now in the Challenger Cup for EU going forward. The next week, the next Wednesday, you are going to start presumably at the very bottom of that region in the Contender Cup. Then you're going to have to work your way up through the Contender Cup and then get up to the Elite Cup. So pros are still going to be able to play across multiple regions. You guys are as well, but only on your main region are you going to get placed highly at the start. I do see one main issue with this. Let's say an insane insane team, like let's say Malabuka and Mustache. Let's say they play EU, they get their Elite Cup, they're going to get top 200, they're insane. Now, what's going to happen when they play next week on Middle East? They're going to start in the Contender Cup, and those are the players who have already played their placements and couldn't even get inside the top 1,000. They're going to get ran through. Those lobbies are going to be insane. I'm assuming there's going to be skill-based matchmaking, as there always are in tournaments. So later on in the tournaments, they will verse the better players in those Contender Cups. But for the first few weeks, when you have all these pros trying to make their way up to the Elite Cup on the different regions, it's going to be a bloodbath. And I know if they're beating you on 100 ping, they deserve it. But I do think that is probably one of the main flaws I've seen in this system so far. So if you're running into absolutely insane pros who are playing cross-region in your tournaments, I feel sorry for you. Hopefully after a couple weeks of these Divisional Cups, most of those players will have made their way to the top levels into the Elite Cups. How does it work with switching teammates? You can switch teammates between cups as long as they're in the same division as you. So if you're in the Elite Cups, you can play with other people already in Elite Cups. But if you want to play with someone in the Challenger Cup, I don't know how that works. I'm pretty sure you just can't. You're just stuck in the Elite Cup and you're forced to play with other people within the Elite Cup. I do find another bit of an issue with that one as well. Maybe there could be a system where you play with the lowest teammates cup. Like let's say you're in Elite Cup, your friend's in Challenger, you have to go down and play Challenger with them to then go back up to the Elite Cup. I think that could maybe work better, but again, this is a very new system. I'm sure Epic have thought about some of these things, and there probably will be some revisions and changes throughout the season. Now, how long is this competitive season? How many of these tournaments do we have? And this is what answers the question about why is there no FNCS? Why are there no cash cups? This season is actually reasonably short when it comes to competitive. We're kicking off the competitive season less than 1 week into the season, and it's still only lasting for about 7 weeks. They said subject to any schedule changes, the regular competitive season will run for about 7 weeks. So there's going to be 7 weeks of these divisional cash cups. Then there's going to be no FNCS. Then we're going to go in with the Invitational. I already talked about this in a recent video where I predicted we might not have an FNCS. I'm sad to say that my prediction was correct. There wasn't enough time, I guess, or Epic wanted to try something different. So there are going to be other tournaments on each week outside of these divisional cups. They've talked about there being like creator cups. There's going to be LTM cups, lightning cups. There's going to be late game arena cups. I'll get to that in a second, but there are not going to be cash cups in the traditional sense. There is no solo tournament as it stands right now. I'm sure they're going to add maybe like a late game arena solo tournament, or maybe a lightning solo tournament, or maybe a content creators tournament could be solos. But right now there is no week-to-week solo tournaments. That has a lot of people very upset, and I do understand that. Right now, if you want to play competitive Fortnite, you got to team up. You got to find someone, you got to rely on them. This is pretty unusual for Fortnite, but it's not unusual if you look at other esports. Pretty much every single esport in the world, it is a team-based game mode. This does pretty much confirm that Fortnite is moving away from solo competitive. Any of you guys were hoping for a solo FNCS in the future, I don't think there's too much chance of it. Epic might do a 180. Maybe the participation numbers aren't there and they feel like solos is just better for everyone to have a chance. But right now, it is fair to say the competitive integrity in solos is at its lowest. It's where there's the most teaming, there's the most rule breaking, there's the most hackers. It has the most issues. So I kind of see where Epic's coming from with this. It is sad to see that a lot of you guys who maybe don't have a duo to grind with every week, who really want to prove themselves in solos, are going to struggle. How do you now prove that you're a good player if you don't have a solo mode to prove it, to find better duo players to play with? Now you're going to have to play with people who maybe aren't as good as you, prove that you're good to then find a better teammate. It does make things a little bit more awkward, but either way, that is the way Fortnite's moving forward. The no FNCS is also another big one, but I think that's because of such a short season with the Invitational. If there was no Invitational, I imagine we would have an FNCS to close out the season on top of all these divisional cups, but maybe not. Maybe Epic is just moving away from FNCS altogether, and going forward every season, we're just going to have these divisional cups. If they have a much higher prize pool, I think they will get people quite excited. It is a bit sad that Epic announced this without the prize pool, because I feel like if the prize pool from FNCS was redistributed amongst all the regions, and you could see like, oh my gosh, first place on EU is walking away with like $10,000, that's crazy. It would make people feel better, but it does also mean that prize money is now even harder to get to. With these 2-round cash cups, having to make finals and then having to place in finals has made prize money very, very hard for the average competitive player. I was actually thinking that Epic might go the opposite direction. Maybe they'd go back to running more 1-round cash cups like solos and trios, and then leave the duo cash cups as the FNCS game mode as multi-rounds. It looks like Epic's actually made it even harder to get into those lobbies to get prize money if you're an average competitor. competitor. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out as far as participation. Will people be more motivated to play? The main benefit being of this entire system is you're going to verse people of your equal skill level. If you're a contender level player, if you're a challenge level player or elite level player, you're going to verse people of that caliber. No longer are we going to see pros like Tayson dropping 40 bombs in their first game in the first lobby to then qualify, and things become very RNG. From the first game of the tournament, you are going to verse people of your equal skill level. In the Elite Cups, it's top 200 duos. There is going to be very few easy duos to run through. We're going to see much lower elimination games to kick things off. Games are going to be more stacked, and it is going to be more competitive. Whether you like this format or whether you dislike it, I fully understand, but it is more competitive. Now, what is going on with console and what is going on with no builds? Console, I've got good news. The Console Champions Cup is going to stick around. They said console competitors for this coming season, you'll notice that most tournaments are open to all platforms. So like the Divisional Cups, if you want to play in those, it is going to be console versus PC. However, later in Chapter 3, Season 4, we will continue the seasonal offering of the Console Champions Cup with a $250,000 prize pool. In partnership with PlayStation, we'll also continue providing monthly Fortnite PlayStation Cups in September, October, and November. So Xbox gang, I'm sorry, all you've got is the Console Champions Cup, same as this previous season. You can play in the Divisional Cups, you can earn money in them, but obviously it's going to be a lot harder against PC players. PlayStation, you're up big again. You've got 3 of your own tournaments each month for this season. Now, what is going on with zero builds? They did address this. There is going to be 3 weekly zero build tournaments. On Wednesdays and Fridays, there is going to be quick duo zero build cups, and then on Saturday is the zero build squads cash cup. So the only way to make money every week in no builds is through squads, which is interesting. A lot of people love the squads game mode. It's fun, it's hectic, it's crazy. The reason why it's hard to run in the competitive building sense is because the servers just can't handle it. It's way too laggy, the lobbies don't handle it. But zero builds, that's not the case. So if you want to make money and you're a zero builds demon, you're gonna have to find 3 teammates or friends to play with. As far as you just picking up a friend and having some fun, you do have the tournaments on Wednesday and Friday, and one big point to make, you'll probably notice all of those days are the exact same days as the build tournaments. Epic has finally just fully split it down the middle. You were either playing no builds or you were playing builds. You cannot play both with the current format unless the timings don't match up, which I doubt they're going to just really mess with the timings, especially if you're going to want to play multiple regions for these Divisional Cups. You're just going to have no time to play no builds. So for those of you guys who are the no build demons, the content creators out there like Tifu and Zemi, they're going to see far less pros in their lobbies, or traditional pros of the building sense, and it'll be interesting to see how that changes things. But there are also going to be other tournaments like I talked about. It's not just the Divisional Cups. There are going to be content creator cups. There are going to be late game arena cups. They said we're working to resolve several issues with late game playlists. Our intention is to bring back late game arena, quick cups, and cash cups at a later date during Chapter 3 Season 4. So there could be a potential return of solo cash cups or of trio cash cups, but right now they're at least going to be later in the season. This is a very quick season. Like I said, we have the confirmed date of December 5th being the end of this season. So starting on September 16th, ending on December 5th, and we have 7 weeks of these Divisional Cups. I don't exactly know where they're going to add the cash cups in there. Maybe towards the end of the season, we have Divisional Cups and we have cash cups running at the same time. I'm not entirely sure, but I don't know if this is going to be Epic's, kind of format going forward for every single season, or it's just because it's this season, which is a shorter season, and we have the Invitational. They're trying out something different. We have had confirmed changes to Arena. It's fair to say Arena this season is possibly the worst it's ever been. You didn't get any points. The queues were terrible. No one was playing it. They've obviously identified this. They said for Battle Royale Arena, there is going to be solos, duos, and trios. For late game, there is going to stay solos and trios. But one of our focuses this season is to shorten queue times to ensure you spend more time playing and less time waiting. Additionally, we're continuing to adjust how much hype is earned for placement thresholds and eliminations across the Battle Royale modes. Expect some small changes similar to what we've done in previous seasons. So basically, I have a feeling they're going to tone back the changes they made to Arena, which made it way harder to get points, which was very unrewarding. I'm sure Fortnite did that in an attempt to try to make Arena more competitive, to make people try harder and play more for endgame. If anything, it just made people not want to play the game mode, because the one thing they were getting, which was points to be able to flex on their friends, they weren't getting almost any of them unless you were just sitting in a bush. So it looks like Epic's going to dial that back. The fact they said queue times are going to be shorter means they're going to probably open up the parameters of Arena. So maybe now it'll be like if you're from 3,000 points, you verse anyone up to 7,000, 7,000 plus, like they're going to open that up. So if anything, Arena is going to get less competitive, but it's going to go more back to what it used to be in the past, where it's going to be quick queues. You get in, you W key, you have some fun, you hopefully win a couple games, you get some points, and that's it. It looks like they've given up on trying to make Arena a proper ranked mode or a proper competitive mode. You're probably expecting to hear me get mad about that or talk about what they're not doing right. But honestly, it looks like they're trying to funnel that attempt into these divisional cups. And at this point, I don't know if Arena ever could be competitive. It might just be a thing where as an entire community, we just don't have the right mindset for Arena, where players will never take it seriously. And hopefully these new divisional cups are ways for players to improve and test their skill in a much shorter area. Obviously, you just have 2-3 hour windows rather than trying to play Arena for like 10 hours a day. If this makes Arena more fun and we get a really good meta, like let's say like chapter 2 season 4, just running through the lobby, going crazy, having fun, not trying to take it too seriously, that could be really, really enjoyable. That could be the change that we potentially need. So this might not be a bad thing. And I know that sounds crazy coming from me, the guy who's been asking for a proper ranked mode for so long, but I mean, maybe it's just not possible at this point. I don't know. Last up, and this is a pretty exciting one, but I don't know how much we can rely on this. With the actual post they made about this, they did have an image that shows some pretty exciting items. It's right now, we have very heavily featured the shockwave. The player is very clearly holding a shockwave. We have quad crashes and we have guided missiles. So we could potentially see 3 of these all being in the next season. We also have someone on a glider that could be glider redeploy. We have grenades and we do have the regular combat AR as well. So does that mean we're going to get these and oh my gosh, we're in for a crazy season? I don't really know. I don't want to clickbait you guys like that and go, oh my god, shockwave's confirmed. There's a good chance they would just be in public lobbies and they wouldn't be in competitive. Maybe it is a sign of being a spicier competitive meta because this is a competitive blog post and they're clearly showing items that currently aren't in competitive. Maybe this is a change of things to come. A lot of people, myself included, are starting to change their mind a little bit on wanting a purely competitive meta. The game just doesn't feel that fun right now, and even if we have the most competitive meta in the world, if no one wants to play it, then does it really matter? Let's get some spicier items. Let's have some fun with Fortnite again. Let's make the game grindable, and maybe items like shockwaves are the way to do it. You guys know the deal. Chuck a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't, if you made it this far, and I'll see you in the next one.